Hey everybody, today we have Tim Kerley with Atlantic Bay Mortgage, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about what's going on in the lending industry. We're doing this call via Zoom. So normally we would have our guests come into the office and we would talk to them there, but we're doing a little bit differently today and being good people and practicing safe distancing. So even though Tim's office is about a mile or less away from our office, we're going to do our meeting this way. So hopefully everybody likes it. Maybe it might be something we can do in the future, but we'll see how it goes. But I'm going to definitely take the audio from this and use it for the podcast. And then we will maybe put the video up if it's not too weird. So anyway, so first, welcome, Tim. Thanks for coming on today. Really appreciate you being here and being on the show.
Thank you, Mike. Glad to be here. Appreciate the invite. I'm all hunkered down over here with the door locked, like you are probably.
Nice. Yeah, I had to turn notifications off on my computer and my phone and everything. So hopefully, we won't get too many interruptions. It never seems to fail. There always seems to be a train that goes by. So the cool thing is, you'll hear it come to me first and then to Tim or vice versa, depending upon the direction of the train. So if you hear that in the background, you know what that is. But anyway, so why don't we just kind of get into it? One of the things that's come out, the reason why I wanted to have you on, Tim, is to kind of talk about how things have kind of changed in the lending industry since this whole coronavirus thing started, and kind of wanted to get your take on things and make sure that consumers had everything that they needed to know, going into the loan process and kind of just how things are going. So sure. Again, I appreciate you being on here, but one of the things that I get in the conversations with clients about quite a bit is the fact that they see on television that the Fed has lowered the rates to zero. And then, so that, people ask me a lot, like, oh, does that mean like mortgage rates are at zero? And I'm like, no, not exactly, but I don't really have the right answer to kind of really explain how that works. Can you kind of explain that in a better way for us so everybody kind of can understand that a little bit better?
Sure. Yeah, it's very misleading, especially when you see those announcements on the media. I remember when that happened a few weeks ago and it came out, it's like Fed drops rate to zero. So immediately we start getting a lot of questions about that. But what they're talking about, when the Fed drops the rate, what they are doing is they're manipulating the Fed funds rate, which is a short-term rate, and it's really the rate that banks borrow money from each other at. So, that is going to affect long-term mortgage rates really as it affects the overall economy, but it's not going to directly impact mortgage rates. So anything that's tied to a short-term rate, like a prime rate or something like that, you're going to see an effect on that. There's a little bit of a lag time, but that's really where that is going to show up immediately. The mortgage rates are more closely tied to the bond market.
Okay.
So, however, what they're doing is affecting the bond market. That's where you're going to see it show up in mortgage rates. So rates are very good, but they're not zero.
Okay. Can you give any kind of range? Today is April 30th. So, I don't want to hold you to like rate quotes or anything, but can you give any kind of range of where they are as of today?
Yeah. If you're doing a conventional loan and you have good credit, you're going to be in the low threes right now. And things have kind of stabilized, I guess I would say, in the last few weeks. When this first started, I guess the first few weeks in March, we were having incredibly wild swings in rates and pricing many times a day. It was kind of crazy, but it seemed like every hour it was something different. But we've kind of settled in right now, so we'll see what happens over the longer term.
What do you see happening in the rest of the year with rates? Like, do you think they're gonna hold the line, or do you think that they're gonna? I know you're not like a fortune teller or anything, but do you have any sense of kind of the direction? You think we'll kind of be in this range for a while, or do you think that there's a chance they may go up a lot higher later in the year?
I listen to a lot of industry folks who are way smarter than I am, and the consensus seems to be that we're going to be in this low rate pattern for some time.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if that means, go lower. I don't know if that means they're going to go up by 0.5%. Let's be honest. If you're in the low threes, you're getting close to historical lows, if not at historical lows already. So rates are really, really good. So I don't know what else is going to happen. All this has been a big surprise, and I don't think anybody can really predict from one day to the next anymore what might happen.
Yeah, I remember putting rates into perspective. When I bought my first house, it was like 1999, I believe, and maybe 2000, but somewhere in that range. And I think I was really excited about the fact that they were just under 8% at that point. And I was like, that's really great. Cause my parents would tell me stories about the fact that they got up to 21%, 18% or whatever when I was a kid. And, it was kind of before my time, but still it's, to get something, below 8%, that was amazing. And, now we're sitting at 3, and people are, we were kind of getting in the 5s at one point, and people were complaining, and it was that's still really low. We're
Sure.
really kind of lucky that, we can borrow money at that low of a rate for over a long period of time. So, anyway.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. So something else that has kind of become a little bit of a hot topic on the news, and is this issue of forbearance. And I guess there's a lot of things that go into that, and I wanted to get your take on maybe explain what it is, so this way I don't kind of get it wrong, because I don't want to give anybody the wrong impression of kind of the way to handle it. But why don't you kind of just take the wheel on this one and just kind of talk about it?
Yeah, this is a big, big issue in our industry right now. So I'll give you my spiel here. So forbearance is a part of the CARES Act that was passed some weeks ago. And so what it does is it allows the homeowner to have a period of time where they don't make their payments. So it's not, a lot of people mistakenly think it's somehow forgiven. It's not forgiveness. You're still going to have to make those payments at some point. There's a lot of gray area around forbearance right now. So I've seen a lot of different things where, maybe you're making your payments, maybe you're making those payments up at the end of the forbearance period in a lump sum, which, might be a great thing. Or, maybe those payments are spread out over the life of the loan, or maybe they're added to the end of the loan in some type of a second mortgage instrument or something like that. Like I said, there's a lot of things that we don't know. So that's kind of what it is. The issue that it's causing is, forbearance is put in there for folks that are having financial hardship as a result of the virus. But the problem is, as far as I can tell, there is no requirement that you prove that you're having financial hardship. Almost anybody can do it. And so I think they're seeing far, far greater levels of people taking advantage of forbearance than what was initially thought. And, it's probably true that some of those people maybe don't necessarily have to do forbearance right now. So just to kind of give you an idea of what that does, I'll tell you what, I'm going to break this down to kind of what it means for our industry and then what it means for the consumers. Okay?
Yeah, great.
So on the industry side, so when you get a mortgage, what's happening is your lender is selling that mortgage. There's really two pieces to it after you close your loan. The first one is the financial instrument that actually goes to, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or Ginnie Mae, if it's one of the government type loans. That's going to end up out on the bond market, in somebody's 401k or a mutual fund or whatever. It's going to be packaged together and sold on the financial market. The other piece of it that you as the consumer do see is the servicing part of it. So the servicer is the person or the company in this case, that takes your payments. They're going to manage the escrow account. They're going to send you a nasty letter if you don't make your payments, that sort of thing. So what's happening with the forbearance is, the government's saying, hey, you can do forbearance. You don't have to make your payments. But that the servicer is responsible for taking the payments from the homeowner and then turning around and making those payments to the bondholder or the investor. The consumer that has the mortgage is not having to make their payments, but the servicer is still having to make their payments, even though they're not collecting them from the homeowner. They still have to turn around and make those payments to the bondholder. So as you can imagine, this is creating a huge liquidity crunch for these servicing companies. So I know that's something that, everybody's kind of trying to find a solution to right now. The other part of this too is, as a consumer, we don't really know exactly what implications this might have for you, because like we said, I mean, you're going to have to pay this money back at some point, but what is that going to mean on your credit report? How's that going to show up on your credit report? Even if you don't get a late notice, is it flagged somehow that says that you had a forbearance, and will that impact your ability to get another mortgage at some point in the future? Those are questions that I don't have answers to right now, but that seems reasonable to expect that, that might come into play there at some point.
I mean, I guess that would be my concern, is if somebody were to do something like that, and let's say you want to get a mortgage in a couple months, and you claimed forbearance earlier, like, could that hurt you? I don't know. I mean, we just don't know how they're going to handle that, I guess, right?
Yeah. I think we're too early into this to know exactly how that's going to be handled. But I mean, it seems, like I say, it seems reasonable that is somehow going to show up on your credit report.
Yeah.
It may not show up as a late notice, but it's probably going to show up that you took advantage of forbearance. And again, is that going to impose some kind of waiting period on you to be able to get another mortgage? I don't know that yet.
So, I mean, from not coming from you, but coming from me, I guess a good rule of thumb would be, in the grand scheme of things, if you can afford to pay your mortgage, pay it. Don't just think that there's going to be some magic thing at the end that's going to help, because we don't know what it's going to look like after the fact. So if you can afford to pay it, you're in control of your mortgage, you're in control of your credit and everything. So if you can do it, then do that. But if you can't eat and you can't, feed your family, then do what you got to do. And, that's what it's there for. But it may have implications later on. So, is that
agreed.
Okay?
And yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I would say. And,
Yeah.
and, if you do decide to look into forbearance, call your servicer, find out what your options are, make sure that you understand what you're doing and what the agreement is and how this is all going to play out for you.
Okay.
That's my final word.
Good advice. Good advice. All right. So, are there any loans that you're not able to do since all this started? I heard some rumblings that, jumbo loans have become a little bit more difficult, and even some of the loans where, I guess, there's like matching funds involved and stuff like that. Is anything out there going on that, any types of loans that people normally would get that have been more difficult now?
Yeah. And I mean, just kind of what we were talking about, it goes back to this whole issue of forbearance and creating the liquidity crisis in the industry. And the other part of that too is, like, if you're a lender and you make a loan and then someone goes into forbearance, immediately you can't sell that loan. So, and I know, Mike, I mean, when a lender makes a loan, we're selling the loan so that we get the money back, so that we can then go lend the money to somebody else. That's how
it works.
That's right. So if you can't sell a loan, then that diminishes your ability to lend to more people. So we're definitely seeing credit guidelines tightening up right now. You ask about programs going away. You're right. Jumbo is a whole different animal. And when we talk about jumbo, we're talking about a loan amount that is in excess of $510,400. $510,400. That's the conforming limit cutoff for this year. So if you go above that and you're doing a conventional loan, then it's going to be a jumbo loan. So that means there's really not, like, those loans can't be sold to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. So that's why the credit guidelines are different for those. So we're definitely seeing a tightening up and a lessening in the availability of those loans. The other thing too is the down payment assistance programs are also not as available right now. Those programs are not used as much as we had. And then, some of the other things, like VA's got a renovation program. I know, some lenders are kind of pulling back from some of the renovation. The other thing I'm seeing too, and probably the thing that is going to be more prevalent, is credit score minimums. So the programs are still available. Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA, USDA, all those programs are still there, but you're going to see a higher required credit score for those programs. And that, I mean, I'm hearing some lenders are requiring 640, 660, 680 even for the government program. So your credit's going to need to be better.
Yeah. No, and that's understandable. I guess it kind of makes sense. You hate to have anything where somebody that maybe, would want to get something that they can't, but at the same time, times like this, I think people expect them to tighten up. The goal is that they don't tighten up so much that we can't get things done. And it seems like, at least as far as I can tell, things are still happening. It's just, kind of become a little bit harder in some ways, and just figuring out how to do it, not necessarily that we can't. So,
yeah. And I do want to say too, I don't mean to say that as if your credit score is below, let's say 640, you can't get a loan. That's not true. There are still loan programs available. It's just that depending on the program, if you're trying to do one of the government programs and your credit score is a 640 or let's say below a 640, you probably should expect some additional requirements.
okay.
Like for us, we're looking for a pattern of savings. We want to see that the borrower is able to, or has been able to save some money, for a down payment or for a rainy day, that sort of thing.
Okay. And that makes sense. Again, the goal is for someone to be able to, have enough money to know that they're going to make the payment in the future. That's the whole point of it. So it definitely makes sense. How are you handling things with like employment verifications through this process? I know that that's kind of become a little tricky because we've got some people that, might have a job today, but might get laid off for a short period of time and then put back on. And then there's people's jobs that, certain professions, they're not even allowed to do their work. So how are we handling that in this process?
Yeah, that's a big issue as well. So when we're doing the conventional or conforming loans, the requirement from the agencies is the lender has to verify that the person is still working within 10 days of the closing date. But as you know, just like you just mentioned, we have a lot of people that are losing jobs. So for us, and I'm assuming most other lenders are probably following this guideline as well, but we've condensed that down to 48 hours. So for us now, we have to make sure that you are still working within 48 hours of the closing.
Wow.
So, and the only thing that kind of causes an issue sometimes is a lot of employers use third-party verification firms who may or may not be, staffed right now.
Okay.
Or, sometimes employers, while, our client that we're working with might still be working, maybe the people in their HR are not working, or maybe they don't have their office staffed. So, it hasn't been a huge problem, but it is just a little bit different in the way the verification has to go. If you're self-employed,
so at the end, sorry, we're having a little feedback there, I guess. So at certain points though, when people are, it could have caused a delay at the end then, I guess, if they're trying to validate people's jobs and stuff. Is that something, have you seen that happen, or?
I haven't seen it happen.
Okay.
I have not had any problems with that yet.
It could happen, but it hasn't.
Right. We just have to be, well, and I'll tell you too, another thing that we're doing is we're actually doing an employment verification at 2 points. We're going to go ahead and do one as soon as the file gets the initial underwriting approval. We're going to go ahead and do the employment verification, because if there's something going on there, we want to head that off before we get all the way down to closing.
Sure.
And then it's just a verbal or an email verification of 48 hours before closing.
And I guess the good thing is that you have that contact, you have that contact person that you can go back to as well. Since you already tried them once, hopefully you get a hold of that person again and in a timely manner. So, okay. Yep. Well, it's good. So, anything else that I might have missed that we wanted to discuss? I think we kind of covered everything we kind of wanted to get through.
Yeah, I think we did. I think it's an interesting world. It's an interesting world for all of us right now. It's a totally, different than anything that we're used to. And it seems like in the lending industry, this stuff is changing. Again, kind of has settled down now, but it seems like it was changing almost hourly there for a while. So many things going on.
It was wild. I mean, when everything kind of first started happening, I was getting notification from people and like, my lender just said that the rates went down like super low, and then like an hour later they were up again, and it was like, what in the world is going on? But yeah, it seems like it's leveled out a little bit. But one of the things we do normally on the show, and I kind of changed it, I'm going to change it up a little bit today, but I do like a 10 questions about yourself. And I started it after we did a podcast probably a little over a year ago last time. And I wasn't doing that in the podcast yet. And I started doing it. I feel like it was something that kind of added some conversation to the process and everything. And so anyway, but we didn't do it last time. And then now I think some of the questions are kind of insensitive because it's like asking like, what's your favorite beach destination? And since, it's kind of difficult to go to the beach right now in a lot of places, I don't want to make anybody feel bad. So I'm going to kind of make it like a 5 questions, and I'm going to call the Corona edition. So I got like 5 questions for you. So we'll kind of go through them here. And so,
by the way, Geithner Park, that's my favorite beach destination.
Nice. Are they still letting people in?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes. My family has spent a lot of time at Geithner Park in the last few weeks.
Nice. What is your go-to takeout place since the lockdown started?
I'm going to say Tap Room. Okay. Probably Old Hickory Tap Room, because it's very close to my office. I can walk over there, and the square is great with all the stuff they've done over there. So
they definitely, I think they're set up pretty well for it. And I guess hopefully when we get to go to restaurants again, I think they're all set up pretty well to try and do it, eat outside whenever we can too. So kind of spread out a little bit. So that'll be, nice to look forward to. Yeah, we do. At lunch, I've been enjoying Station. They've got a to-go menu, and they've got a lot of good specials. And so lunchtime, I'm trying not to eat out too much because I don't want to get too fat. But at the same time, I, once a week or so is good for eating a good lunch. And that's kind of been our go-to. Also, Rancho Viejo is one of our favorites for lunch.
Hard to beat.
Yeah. Dinner, we'd like to, I'm a sucker for the chicken Parmesan sub from Da Vinci's. So for dinner, we've been going there quite a bit. So at least I have when the nights that Kathleen's not cooking. So that's my go-to. But anyway, what's the first restaurant you want to go to when things open up again?
Probably Rancho Viejo, now that you said that.
Nice.
About since I've been there. Yeah, I haven't even had Mexican in a while. So Rancho's one of my favorites.
Yeah, they've got a good setup. You can call all the restaurants. I feel bad because like I know so many friends that have restaurants, and they're all doing a really good job of taking your order over the phone and having it ready for you when you get there. And some of them will even let you pay over the phone, so you don't have to touch anybody or touch anything. And so, I mean, they're all doing a really good job with it. So, if I left you out, I apologize for any of my friends out there. But at the same time, just know that, please keep eating out at least a couple times a week so we can keep these guys in business and keep them okay through this. And hopefully, as the weeks go on, we'll be able to creep in and, start going out to eat again. But I think
I'm doing my part.
What's that? You're doing your part? Okay. All right, good. Yeah, I think I am too. All right. So are there any stores that are doing delivery that you would not have thought of before all this, and like that you're using that you wouldn't have thought of?
I can't say that we're using any stores that are doing delivery, but I have to say I do like the buying stuff online and they bring it out to you. That's been really nice. My wife buys the dog food over at Tractor Supply, so it's like 50 pounds.
Nice.
So, she buy it online, she just drives up and they chuck it. I mean, I still have to carry it in the house.
Yeah, well.
Don't have to go to the store. And so that's been nice.
Good. Yeah, we've the Lowe's to go from Lowe's grocery store has been pretty good. Mm-hmm. Although for a while there, it's a lot better now. It seems like you can get, like, if you place your order, you can, and once you do it, it like saves your order online, and so you're able to go and place your order. And I'm saying this like I do it because I don't, as Kathleen does it. But but you place your order online and it remembers what you bought in the past. So it's like, like, oh yeah, I like peanut butter Captain Crunch or whatever, and it'll remember that you had it on the list before, and so you can kind of go through and pick your order, and then they'll pick it for you, and then you just pull up and hit the button, and they come and bring it out to your car, and you can set up payment ahead of time and everything. Again, like I kind of like that, and I know they had that before, but it's things like that. I think maybe it might not go away like after all this is done. Like, I mean, some of the stuff's kind of convenient by to be able to do this. So I think maybe we learn how to do business a little bit differently in the future.
I think you're right.
I do know, like, I kind of find it funny where your office is. Give a shout out to Williams Law Firm. They're really, I talked about it the other day with somebody else, but they're doing their closings pretty much outside. They've got a tent set up and all open air, and doing the people are signing off on all the paperwork right there at the office outside, and at least when it's nice enough, and then when you do go inside, everybody's really well socially distanced. So they're doing a good job with that too, and I think most of the attorneys in town are kind of doing similar things. But it's kind of interesting and it's neat. As horrible as all this has been, I think it's been really interesting to see how industries and different people have kind of challenged themselves to kind of go about doing business in different ways. And hopefully maybe that's something that's good that comes out of this. We got to kind of find some silver lining out of this. So maybe that's what we get out of it.
Yeah. Hey, I'll one thing I would say there too, to that subject, is the e-closings. So I'm sure that most lenders are starting to do that, but that has been, I mean, this is something that we have been working on, but we've kind of pushed it up, and I think it's great for the consumer, because like I've got a closing this afternoon and they've had their docs since last night. So they have all evening to sit down and actually go through everything if they want to. Then they'll electronically sign it, like first thing in the morning, the day of closing, they can sign everything electronically. And then all they have to do is show up at the attorney to have their note, few docs that have to be notarized.
Okay.
Signed, out the door.
That's good. And that process can get so long. I mean, and it needs to be. I mean, it's a lot of information, but it's I think sometimes the consumer feels like they're kind of, everything's just being kind of forced at them at that last little second. And so it's nice to have that option and to be able to give a little bit of I don't know, just a little bit more time to digest everything. So that's good. And again, like, I think we're all going to push each other a little bit to try and figure out more efficient ways to do things. And I think, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Sure.
What's your favorite TV show you've watched since everything started? Like it's something new that you didn't watch before.
I don't have anything new that I haven't watched before. I actually went back and
started. Are you rewatching something?
I've started The Office all over again.
Okay.
So.
Nice.
Yeah, so funny.
We watched a show called Fleabag on Amazon, and I had been hearing about it, and I was like, yeah, I don't think so. And finally, we decided to watch it. And the first episode was a little weird because it's a lot of like breaking down the fourth wall, where she, like, the lead, like, talks to the camera, like, in between, is a little bit weird, but I kind of got used to it after a little while, and it ended up being a pretty funny show. So we ended up getting through that, but that was one I probably wouldn't have watched otherwise. But I'm like, all right, we kind of ran out of stuff to watch, and I was pleasantly surprised. So that was pretty well. And we're rewatching The Sopranos, so I think we're almost through the first season of The Sopranos. So that's my favorite series ever, and I can't believe how much I've kind of forgotten, like, that first season, like, things that happened. So kind of looking, that's been kind of entertaining. So, and then what has become your favorite comfort food in the last 5 months? In the last 5 months, the last couple months?
I've had a lot of barbecue lately, which is nothing, you cannot. And I'll tell you, I've also had a lot of Village Inn pizza too.
Okay.
I worked at Village Inn when I was in high school and college, and it was like I was in there a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, yeah, I remember how good Village Inn pizza used to. So we have frequented Village Inn.
That's good. They're another family or friends of ours, so that's good. Nice. And they're definitely up on the list of places that we check out as well. So I'm glad you mentioned them. That's good.
I miss the buffet though.
Yeah, I think. Do you think we're gonna have buffets? Like, is that gonna be like? I mean, like.
I don't know. I don't know. And, some restaurants, I was thinking about that because some restaurants, that's their whole concept.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean, the pizza's good on its own, so I mean, it's fine. But I kind of wonder, like, how many hands on a spoon are you going to be able to handle before you have to, feel weird about it. So anyway.
Yeah. That was always in the back of my mind, even before all this, though.
Yeah, I always felt like I have a pretty iron stomach. I've been through some stuff as a kid, like, eating crazy stuff. So I'm like, I think I'll be all right. But, but with this unpredictability of this, it kind of might make people feel a little differently. Let's see. There's one other thing I wanted to ask you, and I can't remember what it was now. Oh, well. Is there anything else that we didn't get to talk about before we wrap up?
I don't know of anything. It does feel like things are beginning to stabilize a little bit, and I missed you on Hal Rowe the other day. I got my days mixed up, but and I'm sure you probably said the same thing. But it seems like the real estate industry fundamentally was very strong already, and this is something that was totally out of the blue, and the industry, I think, remains strong. So
yeah,
we should come out this okay.
Overall, I'm pleasantly surprised. Like, I'm still kind of like just cautious about everything, and everything's not perfect. There's, been some deals that have fallen apart because people just have gotten cold feet from this. And so from that standpoint, but as far as our numbers go, we really have been strong. And I guess I think we're fortunate in the fact that we don't have a lot of inventory still. And so even maybe there's less buyers than there were 2 months ago, but there's still so few listings out there that the people that are looking really mean it. And, our stuff's getting a lot of activity. So I think we're fortunate in that. And the numbers kind of show that we're kind of not that far off from last year, but it's going to be really hard to tell until we have like historical data that we can really look at for, how things really went in April. And then even in the May, comparing to April, May of last year. So it's hard to pinpoint, but as it stands right now, things seem to be pretty stable in real estate. But again, I just, everybody's kind of being just really cautious about it. And hopefully it stays that way. I think some people have just, I know some agents that have had some deals fall apart that just, kind of get to the end and, a week before closing or days before closing, people just backing out because they got cold feet. And that's frustrating. Agents did all that work, and and even the buyers, and you feel bad for them that they don't feel confident enough to go through sometimes. But I'm hopeful. I'm still really positive about everything. I think we're going to be on the other side of it. I think we just have to really, do our part for the people that I think have been affected the most. And as things open up, we really need to do whatever we can to try and help them out and continue to, support our local businesses and local companies and stuff to make sure that, they can come out of this better off as well. So, but thanks for that. And I appreciate you coming on today. And like I said, I did videotape this. So I think, it looks like it'll be like a box with our two faces on it. And it may be something I do in the future. So I guess we'll just kind of see how it goes. So for those that are watching this is the first time we're doing this, and apologize. And if you're listening to it, I apologize for talking about something that you can't see. So, but thanks for coming on today. And I think it was a lot of great information. And if anybody needs anything from Tim, you can either comment anywhere this is posted, or send me a message and I'll get the message to Tim. And if you have any questions for me for a future show, you know where to find me. So thanks, Tim, for coming, and have a great day.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
See ya.
See ya.